This is a fairy tale older than the sea itself. Legend has it there was a beautiful princess whose looks were famed throughout the world, and men from every land came to propose to her. And the princess said this: "Whoever gives me the finest gift in the world, to him I will offer my love." But a long time passed, and no matter how precious or how one-of-a-kind the things the men brought, none of them could satisfy the princess. Then one day, the situation changed. A shabby, poor man said, "I will present a treasure the princess has never once seen." What he produced was a tiny little treasure, and the princess, upon seeing it, was struck with wonder and swore an oath of love to this man. This kind of story is a very common fairy tale. But what I'm about to tell you next is not a fairy tale. It's something that actually happened. A woman, after reading that very tale, decided that in pursuit of true love, she would put herself into a long, long sleep. She sincerely hoped that in reality, too, a man holding a tiny treasure would appear before her and wake her up. For an ordinary person, falling into slumber might be no big deal, but the moment blank, these two god-tier online gamers arrived in Disboard, a world where games decide everything, they used the knowledge from their old world to become the kings of Immonity, a race that had been cornered by the other races. Now kings, and in order to solve Immonity's problems of tiny territory and scarce natural resources, they aggressively expanded outward. Their expansion went fairly smoothly. In succession, they subjugated a flugel, won over an elf, and merged with the werebeast nation, the Eastern Union. And right now, what troubles Sora, the Sora half of blank, the most is this. Ever since arriving in this world, more than 2 months in, he has had no outlet for release. Even though he's surrounded by beauties, and his tablet and phone have recorded footage of them bathing, his pesky little sister is always right beside him, foiling any chance he gets. Finally, on this one night, his sister fell asleep, and no one else was around. Just as he was about to engage in some unspeakable activity? Excuse me? Sora's shriek made his sister Shiro, who'd been pretending to sleep, the flugel Gibril, and the werebeast Izuna all react at once. Does this world not even have a concept of privacy? It turned out the one who'd startled Sora with her voice was a young Dhampir girl. As the name suggests, Dhampirs are a race that must take other races' blood, or rather, their souls, to sustain their lives. But now, under the 10 Covenants, you cannot harm others. Attacking an opponent and biting them with an open mouth are naturally all forbidden. And a race bitten by a Dhampir, while it won't be turned into a Dhampir, will contract a special illness, a disease that kills the creature the instant it touches sunlight. In other words, under normal circumstances, no creature would ever consent to being bitten by them. So here's the question. A creature like this should have gone extinct automatically after the Great War ended. So why is she still able to appear before blank? Simple. Because to take in another race's soul, you don't necessarily need blood. As long as the other party is willing to let them take in bodily fluid orally, that's enough to get by. And, well, setting blood aside, the bodily fluid richest in soul is... Miss, are you okay? I'll save you right away. I absolutely won't let you die. The moment Sora finished hearing Jibril's explanation, his attitude flipped instantly. Unfortunately, Shiro was right there too, so Shiro used the line, "That's an R18 scene, NG," to block Sora's urges. But different from before, maybe it really had built up too long. This time, Sora racked his brain and finally tried to bluff his way through with, "This is saving a life. This is a noble deed." If bodily fluid works, then does taking off clothes work too? And with that, Sora's release failed once again. Next, to decide whose saliva to use to save her, another round of argument broke out. Since Sora didn't want to watch Shiro give mouth-to-mouth, he had no choice but to send Jibril. I dare not disobey Master's order. Even mosquitoes, who can suck blood freely, are several notches stronger than they are. However, if you wish to save her life, then I would not recommend this. If I give her my bodily fluid, she would very likely evaporate, because the mass and concentration of our souls are far too different. Just as Shiro was rolling up her sleeve to do it herself, there's sweat, too. In the end, it turned into Shiro having the Dhampir get down on the floor and lick Shiro's toes. What is this? So delicious. Too delicious. For some reason, even though the soul content in sweat is extremely low, this girl ate it up with great relish. As for why the Dhampir reacted this way, Jibril concluded it's because the masters have unique and noble souls, while Izuna thought it's because blank souls are uncontaminated. Hearing these two explanations, Sora felt these two were taking a roundabout way to insult them. Anyway, after licking desperately, this young Dhampir girl, Plum, could finally face them properly and ask Blank to save her race. You can substitute other fluids for blood. To survive, you need the other party's permission, and then you come begging us for help too? Take that kind of setup off to an adult game. Goodbye. Watch your step on the way home. And so, Sora abandoned this Dhampir. No, he didn't. After Plum restated that if things go on like this, both Dhampirs and Seiren will go extinct, Sora did stop to hear her out. And before the story continues, I have to first introduce everyone to the so-called Seiren. Among the 16 races, they rank 15th, and they're mermaids who can only live in the sea. Unlike the other races, 1, they can't leave the sea for long, so they built their own city on the seafloor, Oceando. 2, they are all female. In other words, to reproduce, they can only mate with the males of other races. How can there be a paradise like that? Jibril, let's set out right now. You'd be drained down to nothing, you know? Are you fine with that? How can there be a hell like that? I'm not going, not for the rest of my life. By now, you all get it, right? Both Dhampirs and Seiren are races that cannot exist without harming others. So after the 10 Covenants, the much smarter Dhampirs took the initiative to head to the seafloor and negotiate with the Seiren. The Dhampir strategy was sound. After all, that illness of theirs wouldn't affect the Seiren much. And on top of that, both races need other races as prey. So once they joined hands, it was all upside. At the time, the Dhampirs intended to provide blood and magic, and the Seiren to provide reproductive help, forming a symbiotic relationship. If there was one thing the Dhampirs miscalculated in all this, it was that the Seiren were just too dumb. This race, with only the intelligence of fish, couldn't even grasp the fact that after the 10 Covenants, their own race was about to go extinct. And in a game that should have ended in a deliberate draw, they won. This result meant that all male Dhampirs had to help the Seiren reproduce. And even more pitifully, these male Dhampirs weren't even allowed to drink the blood of any race other than the Seiren. Ugh, how sad. So then, let's sort out the current situation. Dhampirs can survive without drinking blood, but if they don't drink blood, they can only stay in a child's form. So even though it's only the male Dhampirs who are constrained by the Seiren, because male Dhampirs don't grow up, the female Dhampirs can't reproduce either. To grow up, male Dhampirs must obey the siren. And to reproduce, as a consequence, the female Dhampirs must obey the siren too. The Dhampirs, who never expected to end up in this brain-dead situation, viewers, you must think they're pretty dumb too, right? But this situation actually has a follow-up. At this point, to solve their predicament, the male Dhampires, along with one specially selected individual per generation who won't drain the other party dry, signed a new pact that only requires reproducing with it, and upheld that individual as a queen, who would become the siren's plenipotentiary generation after generation. In other words, the Dhampires switched to a method of only reproducing with the queen. This way, they still counted as fulfilling the covenant to help the siren reproduce, while also avoiding being drained to death, and the Dhampires still had blood to drink. The story ended happily. Congratulations all around. Don't jump to conclusions so fast, okay? Because if it really were that way, Plum wouldn't be here. The crisis the Dhampirs face once again is the current queen does absolutely nothing. Back when she wasn't yet queen, this queen was influenced by a certain fairy tale, and after swearing her covenant, she left only one line. "Until the prince who can wake me appears, I will not wake." And then she froze-slept. This freeze sleep you can think of as a Seiren racial ability that lets them slumber for over 1,000 years. Okay, now here's the problem. Who on earth can clear the game she set? That is, make a sleeping person fall in love with them. The current queen has already been in freeze sleep for 800 years, and the male Dhampires have been picked off one after another, until now only the very last one remains, and he's still quite young. The scary part is that even at this state of things, the idiotic Seiren still can't understand that they're the next ones up to go extinct. Something like that. So how are we supposed to help? This is completely stuck, isn't it? Steph's question was spot on. To resolve this, the Dhampirs developed a spell that can interfere with dreams. That is, they'd carry out a make the queen fall in love with you romance game directly inside her dream. If we win that game, what do we get? Oceando will provide its source of the 3 layers, plus permanent friendly relations between our 2 realms. And you can do whatever you want with me. Don't dawdle, everyone. We're going to save that sleeping queen right now. Yes, basically, the goal of the game is to make the queen fall in love with you and confess to you. It's a romance game with an affinity system, where dialogue and actions all happen in real time. In that case, it's a whole different matter. I refuse. Please see yourself out. The reason Sora refused is exactly what you'd imagine. Of all games, the only ones Blank has never cleared are the real-life game and the real romance game. After all, in reality, they're friendless shut-ins. Come on, think about it. How could people like that possibly manage to win someone over? Of course, that's just what Sora said, but the others couldn't just give up on them. So Blank and the group met with Miko again and asked her what love is. Have you all been listening to me properly? I said I've already prepared a countermeasure. Miko's countermeasure was a magic that defines love. Where this differs from arousal magic is because love varies according to each person's definition, all you have to do is get someone to define a certain feeling as love, and then it becomes love. Let me add a note here. This cognition-altering magic is something only Dhampirs are especially skilled at. Besides altering invisible feelings like this, they can also alter others' perceptions. To be precise, simply by altering how others perceive you, they'll find it hard to notice you at all. Fine, go ahead and try it on me. Originally, Sora was going to personally experience this magic, but Shiro worried. Not knowing what a Sora who'd fallen in love might do, and stopped him. Of course, that wasn't Shiro's real reason. Her real reason was that Shiro didn't want Sora falling in love with anyone else. Miko, hearing the two of them talk, saw through Shiro's feelings, so Miko stepped forward herself. A red light appeared around Miko, and after Sora gave Miko's chest a squeeze, the magic was formally complete. What is this? That disgusting, nauseating smile makes me so annoyed I'm starting to get angry. Right, this is love. Seriously? That kind of hurts, you know? Even though Miko defined this is love, the way she looked at Sora was as if she were looking at something disgusting. Shiro, Big Bro feels more despair over love than ever before. There, Sora, calm down. Lady Miko has probably recognized disgust as the feeling of love. Please, strike while the iron's hot and say the most disgusting line you can to her. I really want to lick Miko's feet. Oh, no, Sora. No, saying that only makes me love you even more, doesn't it? Hey, Plum, her lines and her attitude don't match at all. She's looking at me with an intensely disgusted glare. No, that glare is clearly telling me to drop dead. To keep Sora's psyche from breaking, Plum undid the magic. I see. I now understand the surefire strategy you spoke of. But why don't you do this kind of thing yourselves? Because the last male Dhampir is still a child. The queen demands a prince, and this magic is perception disguising magic. At minimum, you need a male with reproductive ability. Hearing this, Shiro silently tugged Sora's sleeve and showed him her phone. So, it doesn't have to be Big Bro? Well said. Even knowing Shiro's point was valid, Sora seemed to have some scheme in mind, so he didn't reject Plum's proposal. Then, to raise their win rate, Sora apparently decided to bring more people and mount a frontal assault. Miss Miko, do you have a suitable candidate? Head out, Ino. That man has 30 wives, you know. All right. Before we cut to Ino in the present, let's first talk about what Ino and Steph were doing earlier. As mentioned last episode, Steph and Ino were left in Elkia to handle the affairs after the nation's merger. On top of that, Blank deliberately spread the news that we're away, so that a crowd of profit seekers would fantasize about squeezing benefits out of the former king's granddaughter, Steph. At first, facing these people, Steph still needed Ino to steadily fend off her opponents. But as she got the hang of cheating and could gradually bring out the experience gained from Blank, she began toying with her opponents and never lost a single time. And because there were far too many challengers, her mind grew worn down, and her attitude got more and more like Sora's. Miss Stephanie, go to sleep. No, I should say, please go to sleep. I'm begging you. That's just how wretched Steph had become. I heard about the old man. You're doomed to a miserable end. If he had the ability, he'd want to do the same thing himself, but Sora just doesn't have it. So, out of sheer awkwardness, he cursed everyone out the moment he got back to the castle. Gramps, are you some kind of lucky monster? That's a vicious move. Teaching a kid to say weird things so that Azuna delivers a major mental blow to her grandfather. You jerk! Not only do you shove a mountain of work onto others, you also stuff weird vocabulary into someone else's granddaughter. Oh, Eno, this is the ugly face of a great sinner whose innermost truth has been called out.
Truly quite the sorry sight, isn't it? While they were making a fuss with no end in sight, Miko showed up. By the way, Eno, we're all heading to Oceando together right now. You have no objections? As you command. Please leave it to me. Once Eno was settled, over to Steph's side. Originally, Steph had wanted to complain to Blank. How could they just dump everything on her? But wait, that's way too unusual. Steph, why do you take on every single challenge? Steph, I do rely on you a lot, but don't push yourself too hard. And how do I put it? Thank you. Whew. Hearing this, Steph tossed all her complaints clean out of her mind. However, once Sora explained that we're heading to Oceando soon, so Steph needs to make swimsuits for everyone, Steph fainted. By noon, everyone came to the beach and changed into their swimsuits. Sora's was the common trunks and top combo, good for hiding his scrawny body. As for Izuna's, there's no point even mentioning it. It's the same as usual. So Sora just designated a school swimsuit for her. As for Shiro, Steph, Jabril, and Miko's, honestly, it's more practical to just show you all the illustration. By the way, even though Shiro and Steph already looked amazing, Jabril and Miko's made Sora and Eno feel like they were looking at two goddesses, and the two of them couldn't help but prostrate themselves and pray to the pair. Among everyone, the only one who can't be out in sunlight, Plum, was hiding in a wooden crate, peeking. Oceando's welcome ship doesn't come until nighttime, so why come here in broad daylight? That question is extremely foolish. After all, if you only came at night, you wouldn't get to see everyone in their swimsuits. Since the welcome ship wouldn't arrive until midnight, there was still a long time before departure, so they decided to try out some beach fun. Sora, Shiro, Eno, and Steph, the four of them, happily played catch in the shallows. Everyone, you heard the key word, right? The word game stimulated Blank and Eno, making them dead serious, even about a simple game of catch. Over on Jibril and Miko's side, the stimulating stuff was coming. According to the master's literature, in a situation like this, swimsuits coming off is destiny's arrangement. And just like that, the cloth over Miko's chest was snatched away by Jabril, and the two launched into a chase that broke the limits of physics. No, wait, Jabril could already fly, so the only one breaking physics was Miko. Miko ran across the surface of the water with one arm shielding her chest, at one point even sprinting through midair. What a treat for the eyes, Mr. Sora. Yeah, it'd be perfect if only you weren't here. Just as everyone was enjoying this leisurely mood. All right, cut. That's a wrap. Good work, everyone. As it turns out, everyone here dislikes the beach. Blank goes without saying. The werebeasts also find it hard to move once their fur soaks up water and gets sand in it, and Jabril hates the sticky feeling of the sea breeze. In short, they were only pretending to play happily to go along with Sora. I'll be the one to groom Izuna. Come here, Izuna. Because when Blank groomed the werebeasts, they can somehow skillfully draw out the vital energy inside them. The werebeasts always want Blank to do it. Their technique is so good that even Miko can't stop praising it. This time, however, Izuna didn't let Sora groom her, and instead sat down in front of her grandfather Eno. Hurry up and start. This old man can rile up killing intent in others without saying a word. Is that expression a werebeast's special ability too? And so, they began killing time, each doing their own thing. No Game, No Life, Volume 4, Part 1.